Okay, let me tell you a story. I have a friend who's not happy. She's not happy with her job, but she continues doing it because she needs the money. She's not happy with her relationship, but she continues in that relationship because she's too afraid of change. She's also not really happy with her nutrition, but daily pizza is still her best friend. Who of you guys knows a person who's also not happy with parts of their life, but who's too afraid of change? I can see a few hands, thank you. Now a very private question. Who of you is afraid of change? Okay, I can see a few hands. Thank you for your honesty. My name is Anastasija, I'm 28 years old, and today I want to tell you how I was exactly that girl I just described in the beginning. I want to tell you the story of how I learned to face my fears, how I learned to see challenging times as blessings, and how the risk to fail became my friend. So when my grandparents and my mother came to Germany in the early 70s, they were very thankful to have the opportunity to live in a peaceful country with all the benefits we know today. The only fear they had was to be noticed in a negative way, to not fit in. So they tried to adapt as much as possible, so they had the security to live a good life in a far developed country, for them, but also for their children. So not only my mom went to school in Germany, so did I in the 90s, which I'm very thankful for. My family wished for me to have an excellent education, because education was the key to a good job, and a good job results into a good life. Since my family was working in physical work, they wished for me that my education made it possible to work in an office where I didn't have to perform too much physical work, so a more secure and relaxed job. And since knowledge was power, I went to school. I graduated in the highest school form possible and started working as a bank clerk. When I finished my 2.5 years training as a bank clerk, and when I started working full-time, and when I saw how easy it was to fit into the system, suddenly there was something inside of me, some sort of claim to myself to show my family, but also my surroundings, or maybe especially my surroundings, that I can even reach more and more. I wanted to be the first person in my family to graduate from university, especially to make my grandparents proud, who compromised so much of their own families and beloved ones left back in their home country. So I started to study business psychology alongside my full-time job, and not only my family gave me the feeling of that this is the right path, also my surroundings told me that, yeah, education is a good thing, and I actually never really questioned if a bachelor degree is important for me, so it was more like I'm doing it because it's a system and I try to fit in as much as possible. So I graduated from school, which I'm very thankful for. I also graduated from university, which I'm very thankful for, and I had several good jobs and also bad jobs, which I'm also very thankful for. But then there was this one day when I learned to give up all of it, which I'm also very thankful for. One day, when I was at my grandparents' house, when I just started my almost perfect job as a business coach, traveling across the country, gaining experiences, changing people's work life. This one day, I was at my grandparents' house for lunch, and this day actually changed my life, because I was there, and I told them how amazing the job is, that I can travel, even though I was never home, but I can travel. And I told them that I have so many benefits, a nice car, a nice house I can afford now, I can go on holidays and stuff like that. I was super proud because I thought, hey, I reached everything that was in my spectrum of reaching in the future. And my grandfather looked at me and he said, "Are you happy?" And I said, "Yes, of course, I love my job." As if loving your job is a guarantee for being happy. A few minutes later, he went out of the room. And my grandmother looked at me in a way that I will probably never forget. And she said, "Anna, I need to tell you something. Your grandfather has a terrible disease, and we don't know if he will make it." At that point, my life was turned upside down, because I was reminded of what really matters in life, right? And at that point, I was feeling like everything just fell into place, and now this is happening. And I really didn't know what was happening there. And when the first shock was over, the next thing I did was I thought I wanted to be there for him. I wanted to be home, and I didn't want to travel anymore. And even though I loved my job, I wanted to support him in any possible way, and yeah, like he did for me when I was younger. And when I asked at work if it's possible to work near home, I was so afraid that they might say no. So I loved the job, but of course I loved my family more. And luckily it was possible to work near home in the future, but not immediately. And that was the point where I felt a little bit running out of time. So what happened then was that besides the fact that I started praying for my grandfather, I did something I've never done before. Normally, I would always try to find solutions in every situation. So I was looking for good doctors and alternative medicine, and I was looking for good hospitals and reading a lot about this kind of sickness that my grandfather had. And yeah, sickness makes you powerless, and that was something I realized very fast. And I realized that I'm not able to change the disease, but I can ask myself the question, what is this situation showing me? And it was not only that I was powerless with the disease of my grandfather, it was also that I was powerless with my own life. So somebody else was in the power to decide if I can see my grandfather more or not. And that was something I couldn't accept. I needed to get my power back, and I didn't want other people to direct my life anymore. So I also asked myself how I got into that position and also how to get out of it. A few days later, I had a long talk with my boyfriend about my thoughts, and I can tell you there were a lot of thoughts going on in my head. And the main thing was that I was happy with my job, but I was also, if I really listened to my inner voice, I was longing for more self-realization. I wanted to take more self-responsibility, and I was at a point after a few days that I was really thinking about quitting my job. And I was very lucky that I had somebody by my side who is not afraid of taking risks and who already had a lot of experiences in not fitting in. And that it's also very good to not fit in and do things that are not expected from you. And he was also very good at asking questions. And so he said, Anna, actually it's very simple. Would you do your job if you wouldn't get paid for it? And I was like, nobody would do their job if they wouldn't get paid for it, right? So let's have a reality check. Who of you guys would do their job if they wouldn't get paid for it? Oh, I can see a few hands again. You're very lucky. When I was first asked that question, I'm honest right now, I was not willed to do my job if I wouldn't get paid for it. I didn't want to compromise my loved ones if I wouldn't get paid for it, or compromise my time if I wouldn't get paid for it. But the sentence that nobody would do their job if they wouldn't get paid for it was a game changer for me. And some of you in the audience just proved it. So the thing was that I've met a lot of people in the past years who fill their days with their passion. And all of these passionate people I met, it doesn't matter if it's photographers, content creators, entrepreneurs, bakers, teachers, whatever. All these people do what they're doing out of their passion, and their passion became their profession. Sometimes also the other way around. So you start a job and you see, hey, I like that, and it becomes your passion. But what all these people have in common is they follow one simple rule. They want to live the life they love so they can love the life they live. And I know this might sound like a great Instagram quote, and it probably also is one, but there is a lot of truth in it. And yeah, they do the same like they do right now, and they would still do the same like they do right now, also if they wouldn't get paid for it, because they love it. The question I had was, what was my passion? You said it in the beginning, Nicolette. I actually, through the hectic years of reaching more graduations, better jobs, high payments, and yeah, doing all the stuff that was expected from me, I forgot to listen to my own needs. I was externally guided by rules I, to be honest, never really understood. And yeah, that was something, yeah, I tried to fit into a system without really looking inside of me and without setting priorities on my side of the table. The situation with my grandfather was the start of an inner journey that I never expected. There are two positive things I can say nowadays out of this situation. The first thing is that my grandfather fought the disease happily, and he's happy, healthy today, even though the chance was very, very low. But the second thing was that I started questioning my whole belief system. I started questioning if the materialistic things that I thought were so reachable and I was so happy to have them, if I really needed them. And I realized that I was stuck in my comfort zone. And for most people, it is very hard to step out of that comfort zone. And I know what I'm talking about. I was in there as well, and probably I will be there always a little bit. But I learned to see the reasons why it is hard to step out of the comfort zone. And I want to name a few of them today. So the first one is we are afraid. So there is fear inside of us to take risks, because if we fail, we think we might lose everything we have. The second one is that we underestimate ourselves. So our life is an output of our thoughts, and actually if there are disbeliefs in our head and we believe we're not good enough for something, or we don't know how to get to the next level, and there is like negative voices in our head, then we really don't know how to get out of the comfort zone because of these disbeliefs. The third one is that we really don't know how to get out of the comfort zone. For example, somebody who wants to be a musician and he doesn't know how to play the piano. You need to start playing the piano to know if you can be a good musician with the piano. But you might also find out that the guitar is better, and you will only learn by trying out. Actually, I was afraid to fail. I was afraid to fail at whatever I was doing. I was afraid of being a good worker. I was afraid of being a good family member, a good friend, good neighbor. Doesn't matter what it was. I feared to take risks when everything I thought I needed was a secure job and to fit into some sort of expectation that was built around me and that I built around me. But what I was mostly afraid of was to get to the point where I realized that it's too late to test things out and to step out of this comfort zone, to follow my dreams, like they say. Always thinking, I will do it next year, I will do it tomorrow, or the year after, I will do it when I have this amount of money, or whatever. I thought there is enough time, but there is not enough time. So at that point, I decided I would jump into cold waters. I quitted a good job to have enough energy to focus on my vision of reaching people with mind-changing experiences. My first idea was I wanted to do like workshops in schools and talk about self-confidence and all the stuff that I learned within my studies as well, and also to learn from younger people. And I asked myself when I was creating this concept, why am I doing it? What is my goal behind it? And my goal was to make a change, to do it step by step, and to reach young people, and to learn from their experiences, but also maybe inspire them by telling them my experiences. And I also had a very big inspirer, who was my boyfriend as well, who was already in the social media business for quite a long time. And he said, okay, if you want to work with young people and if you want to share experiences, why are you not doing it over social media? And I was like, there are already so many influencers. There is no space for you. You don't have any followers, so why would you start now with 27? No, you can't do that. But the truth is that you don't need to be the best to start, but you need to start somewhere to have even the chance to get to this 1% who might be called the best, which is not really the goal, but you know what I mean. And I tried to enjoy the way. So when I didn't have a lot of followers in the beginning of 2019, the question I asked myself was not, why is nobody interested in me? But I tried to find the answer, what can I do to be more interesting to people? And for now, my mission is just to serve the people out there, always thinking that if I reach to change one single life, I already did more than I would have done if I didn't go on social media. And the funny thing was, sometimes the universe is really, working really weird. And at that point, when I was focusing on social media, at that point, numbers were rising. At the point where I announced on Instagram that I will quit my job and that I will not do my job anymore because it didn't serve me anymore in that way that I expected it. That evening I announced that I got the request of TEDx to be a speaker for today's conference as well, and that showed me that closing doors also makes new ones open. And I'm very thankful about that. So my vision for now is to reach people with the idea of that anything is possible if your mindset isn't wrapped in what society, circumstances, or rules keep telling you your whole life. in my head, it was always clear that anything is possible is really not only a great Instagram quote, but that it's the truth. But I needed to find out by testing my own limits, and I'm still going. Yeah, I'm proud, I'm very lucky that I have people around me who help me to learn, to help me to get through these fears, which doesn't mean that I'm not afraid anymore, but I want to be exactly that person to maybe some of you guys today, or somebody who might see the speech later, or who talks to me later, I don't know. But I want to be the person for them, like I had people around me who told me, yeah, just go for it, try it. There is nothing you can really miss, except for some materialistic things. I want to motivate people to trust the process and finding your true passion by testing your limits. And it doesn't matter if you do it self-employed or in a company or as a hobby. Yeah, you just need to accept the fears that are there, and yeah, to try to accept them, face them, and to see that yeah, it might change at some point. And to focus on the positive thoughts that are in our head. So if you ask yourself the question, what would you do if there was a parallel universe where everything is possible? So what if there were no limits, and if we replace why is this happening to me with what is the situation showing me? So we learn out of situations. And especially what if we stop blaming people and circumstances and take self-responsibility in everything that has to become our life later. And if we focus on our thoughts, because the thoughts actually are different way around, I'm sorry. Our life is an output of all of our thoughts we have, and the thoughts create the feelings. And the feelings control how we behave. And the behavior is actually the results that we create in our life. And all of the results we have it defines what our life will look like. So a happy life starts with positive thoughts. And if you're also at a point where you realize you're not happy with what you're doing, it is okay. I know if you have more responsibilities, it is harder to step out of the comfort zone, but you don't need to quit everything that you're doing right now just to focus on something that you might like. You can do it side by side, and yeah, maybe you don't like the piano and you go for guitar or whatever. I want to motivate you to look for chances, to be brave, to make mistakes, and yeah, just risk to fail, because that's where you learn where your limits are. And we are only on Earth a few seconds compared to the living time of our race. So let's make these few seconds as beautiful as possible. Thank you very much.